The Wall of Kanako is an intense, complex, and remarkably twisted neo-noir tale about a troubled man going on a dark quest to track down his vanished daughter. The film features notable performances by Koji Yakusho and Nana Komatsu. Directed by Tatsuya Nakashima, it is an adaptation of Akio Fukamachi's novel titled Hateshinaki Kawaki. Right from the opening lines of the film, where we hear phrases like "I love you" and "I'll kill you," The Wall of Kanako vividly portrays the juxtaposition of life and death, which are key themes throughout the movie. It presents numerous shocking moments that bring a sense of discomfort. Well, don't forget to include Kanako as one of the main themes of the film. While watching The Wall of Kanako, the questions that pop into our head are like, where's Kanako? What happened to Kanako? Is Kanako still alive? Or is Kanako dead? The central storyline revolves around Akikazu Fujishima, a former cop who struggles with alcoholism and is separated from his family, including his suffering ex-wife and enigmatic teenage daughter named Kanako. Akikazu desperately seeks to regain some sort of normality in his chaotic life. Following a brutal murder case at a local convenience store resulting in 3 deaths, Akikazu becomes the prime suspect and loses his job as a security guard. Not long ago, he discovered his wife's infidelity, leading him to assault the other men involved. His situation takes a turn for the worse when his ex-wife Kiriko informs him that their teenage daughter Kanako has been missing for approximately a week. At first, it seems that Kanako has gotten involved with the wrong group of people. Unfortunately, Akikazu has to dive into horrifying depths, surpassing the boundaries of a typical little girl lost scenario, and it drags him into the dark world of Yakuza, corrupt police officers, underage prostitution, and juvenile delinquency. As the pieces of the puzzle come together, the viewers, along with Kanako's father, gradually realize that she is not the innocent and pure young girl he once believed her to be. Flashbacks from the past unveil Kanako as a manipulative teenage girl who preys on the vulnerable. Kanako's true nature reveals a disturbing reflection of corruption, psychological abuse, and nihilism, as if looking back at himself into a broken mirror. In the absence of a moral compass, it's more about Akikazu uncovering both of their sins than him exposing the villain underworld. Before going to the next part, make sure to like and subscribe my channel for more videos.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. All right. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
In a series of flashbacks, the narrator, Hiroya Shimizu at Kanako School, developed feelings for her because she was the only student who didn't isolate or bully him.
No, God!
Well, actually, this is the most normal thing in this movie. However, his life took a turn when the leader of the bullies was brutally beaten by the Matsunaga gang in Kanako's favor, effectively putting an end to the bullying.
You can't defeat me.
No, I know. But he can.
The narrator gained popularity after winning a swimming competition at school. Knowing that Kanako had feelings for a former student named Ogata, the narrator wanted her to feel the same way about him. Imagine how wicked Kanako's mind has to be to kiss the cops in front of all these people. This desire eventually led him to join a party with Kanako, where he was dragged and Subsequently, he was captured, beaten, and thrown into a river.
Emotional damage.
Akikazu begins investigating former classmates and Kanako's teacher, doing violent acts towards them to gather information. He starts to get important clues only when he contacts Emi Morishita and Tomogo Nagano. At first, they pretended to know nothing, but Emi later provides Kanako's locker keys. Nagano, fearing for her life, attempts to inform the police about everything she knows but is instead murdered by someone from the police. Akikazu discovers photographs from Kanako's locker, and the photographer was one of the victims in a murder case at a local convenience store. Seeking vengeance, the narrator stalked a girl from the gang who had thrown him into the river and tortured her to get information regarding Kanako's whereabouts. When he found her in a hotel room, he even contemplated killing her, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. Kanako embraced him before an unknown person, likely Matsunaga, fatally stabbed the narrator in the neck, ending his life.
Fatality.
The tortured girl from the gang later commits suicide to atone for her sins. Akikazu is eventually captured by the Yakuza, who subject Matsunaga, Kanako's friend, to torture in front of him. Matsunaga reveals that they kidnapped Ogata and let old man him, leading to his suicide. Kanako befriends Matsunaga's gang with the intention of seeking revenge for Ogata. Despite being aware of Kanako's motive and her lack of emotional connection with anyone, Matsunaga falls in love with her and assists her in stealing photos. Akikazu is informed by the Yakuza that the police are implicated in the prostitution ring as well, and Detective Aikawa has killed lots of Kanako's friends as a cover-up. Akikazu is provided with a gun and sent to Aikawa's home. Akikazu Aikawa's wife and takes her and her son hostage to force a meeting with Aikawa. The two engage in a violent fight, during which Aikawa kills his wife, but both men manage to survive the fight. The police, including Detective Asai, later arrive at the location and Aikawa is shot to death by Asai. Akikazu runs over Asai and manages to get away. He returns to the teacher he previously interrogated when he realizes that her daughter was one of the children depicted in the disturbing photos associated with Kanako, and that she murdered Kanako for revenge. He forces her to help him find where Kanako was buried, but they face difficulties to search for the exact location due to recent snowfall. Although the teacher keeps saying that it's totally pointless to find Kanako's body and even attempts to escape, the film concludes with Akikazu continuously digging, refusing to accept his daughter's death. The most prominent artistic choice in The Wall of Kanako is dynamic editing. The audience is going to be immersed in the film's atmosphere of fast-paced and unbridled cinematography. The editing techniques, framing, and camera movements are remarkable yet unsettling, as expected from Nakashima's signature style. The only drawback I notice is the repetitive use of flashbacks, which can become quite bothersome at times. The story unfolds in a non-sequential narrative approach, initially making it challenging to comprehend. The audience is presented with fragmented pieces of information that seem messy due to the blending of various timelines. Speaking of timelines, it can be segmented into 4 distinct periods, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll just say 2, before and after Kanako's disappearance. However, against all odds, the film accomplishes the seemingly impossible task of keeping viewers engaged, constantly searching for moments of clarity. Despite the frequent shifting between different timelines that only occasionally intersect, the story remains captivating and genuinely gripping. Nakashima has been getting into increasingly darker themes in his directing career path that has led him from films like Happy Go Lucky, Beautiful Sunday, Kamikaze Girls, and Memories of Matsuko to the more tricky and highly praised Confessions. And now he has reached unprecedented heights in his adaptation of Akio Fukamachi's shockingly violent novel. In contrast to the well-planned narrative structure of Confessions, The Wall of Kanako explores the complexity of human nature in a more chaotic approach. It also reminds me of Old Boy because both films explore the complicated father-daughter relationship. Additionally, there's an element of excitement and entertainment in the film's madness, making it a more approachable and engaging experience compared to Confessions. What Tatsuya Nakashima presents in The Wall of Kanako is relentlessly bleak and dark, making it a mentally and emotionally draining experience to endure until the very end. Through his unconventional approach of nonlinear storytelling, he transforms past events into surprising reveals that shed light on character motivations at key moments, ensuring that the film remains engaging and unpredictable. For instance, as Akikazu dives into the wall of organized crime in his search for Kanako, Nakashima expertly connects timelines through flashbacks and revealing the fate of Kanako. Nana Komatsu delivers a brilliant portrayal of the character Kanako in the film. While her father shows his weakness in unusual and striking manner, Komatsu takes a totally different way, using innocence and purity as tools to manipulate and corrupt those around her. Komatsu's impactful performance proves one of the key themes of the film. True evil stems from manipulating and destroying the characters we know and care about, rather than random acts of violence towards strangers. It's hard to accept that Kanako is just empty inside with no moral sense, but it serves a purpose within the story, highlighting her strong resemblance to her father. Kanako is a bit similar to some female characters like Tomi and Nano. They are fun to watch on screen, but they are extremely dangerous if you live around them. For people familiar with his filmography, Koji Yakusho, given his best in all of his previous works, once again delivers an exceptional performance in The Wall of Kanako. Portraying the truly despicable Akikazu, he manages to captivate the audience, making us curious about his next actions despite his terrible nature. At first, Akikazu appears to be a typical anti-hero, a corrupt cop attempting to redeem himself through one final noble act. However, this perception quickly evolves. He doesn't even deserve to be called anti-hero. He is the type of person who, while on a mission to find his daughter, commits heinous acts of violence against his ex-wife. Yakusho fearlessly embodies the role, presenting a character constantly covered in sweat and blood, as if he has pushed himself to the edge of death and no longer cares about the consequences. This intensifies the impact of the violence shown in the film, as we genuinely believe this character is capable of enduring anything and going to any length to rescue his daughter. The movie frequently references the renowned story of Alice in Wonderland, drawing parallels between Alice's journey into the dreamlike Wonderland and Kanako's crazy lifestyle. In a particular scene from the past, Akikazu is shown choking Kanako, almost taking her life. Additionally, there's a scene where Kanako engages in a conversation with Dr. Sujimura like this, which is possible that Akikazu did something terrible to Kanako at some point. You heard it right, and I think it actually happened in the novel. I believe that all these past events, along with Ogata's death, ignite Kanako's psychotic and manipulative behavior to the highest level. The Wall of Kanako presents a blend of hedonism and nihilism, making it extremely challenging for viewers to develop a fondness for the film. It pushes the audience boundaries when it comes to connecting with the characters portrayed on screen, primarily because there's no character that can be considered morally good in any way. Every individual in the story, including the supposed protagonist, a former detective who goes for extreme actions in his search for answers, is totally unlikable. Akikazu is a foul and abusive alcoholic who frequently engages in acts of murder, assault, and in his journey to find his missing daughter. The film consistently crushes any sense of hope that viewers may try to hold on to. Describing Akikazu, the protagonist, as an anti-hero would be an understatement, as he is just as horrible as all criminals he encounters, making it incredibly difficult to root for him. However, the film's highlight lies in the exceptional acting performances. It's important to recognize that not all films feature a morally upright protagonist, a creative choice which can lead to viewers misinterpreting as poor writing or awful characterization, rather than understanding the intended message of the film itself. Undoubtedly, Japanese cinema is mostly known for exaggeration, and The Wall of Kanako exemplifies this perfectly. Viewers are overwhelmed by its visually striking elements that could lose their minds, accompanied by a cast of egocentric and hedonistic characters. However, once it captivates your mind, you'll find yourself fully immersed for the entire duration. This is the type of film that each viewer will interpret differently. There's so much to absorb and digest that it doesn't seem fair to criticize the film after watching it only once. Most casual viewers may not want to rewatch movies like film critics. However, it is safe to say that The Wall of Kanako offers a unique experience. It may not be groundbreaking and it may not even be pleasant, but it undeniably leaves a strong impression. If you can endure sweat, blood, gore, and extreme violence, get ready for a journey to the darkest depths you've ever encountered. Although The Wall of Kanako may not appeal to everyone due to its profoundly nihilistic tone and several scenes of physical and sexual violence, it's a film that should not be missed by enthusiasts of unconventional cinema. It serves as a refreshing alternative to PG-13 films dominating mainstream movie theaters. This film proves that noir stories can still have a powerful impact depending on the filmmaker's storytelling approach. There are just few main villains in East Asian cinema compared to Hollywood films. Can we consider Kaneko as one of the most iconic villains in East Asian film history? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments.
I don't believe in human rights.